Good evening, friends. At least it's evening here in Finland, and it's many different times across the world, but as time and space do not matter so much when we are speaking of our union in meditation, we are working as souls, and we have a certain kind of omnipresence when we do so. This is our second preparatory meditation for the Christ's Festival, the Festival of Humanity, the Festival of Goodwill, leading up to the Gemini full moon, which will be on the 13th. It's this coming Friday at actually in the wee hours in terms of GMT or Universal Time, 4:11 and 27 seconds in the AM. And we have continuing work until that time. Tomorrow night again we will have our meditation, same time as this. And the keynote we'll be dealing with then will be contact, just as it is resurrection now. And then on the successive night, of course, I trust that many of us will be working hard on the 12th, which is World Invocation Day. And if you can find yourself sounding the great invocation at least hourly, or form some teams that can keep it going more frequently, always with deep thought, as this is a shambolic invocation for light and power, it will definitely add to the possibility of humanity's upliftment and enlightenment. We're in these days now of renunciation and detachment. Whatever renunciation means to you, or detachment, you go through that process to release your consciousness from preoccupation with lesser things. It doesn't mean, of course, that we don't do the things we have to do, but somehow, facilitated by Gemini, we have this dual type of consciousness, which both does things in the world through the instrument, the personality, and yet is alert, always to the unity and depth of the world of the soul. This is the second day of preparation. The focus is on aspiration, which is a scientific method of elevation. Master DK tells us, not simply an emotional attitude, but as a transmutative process. I think you can feel the potentials of this time leading up to the Gemini full moon. And it's really a very special time in which we have to observe a kind of 7-day cycle. A hierarchy cycle is longer than that, but our cycle can be 7 days, 3 days before the actual day of the full moon. We call it the ASALA festival also, and then the days of distribution. Resurrection, well, it's really the theme of the 7th initiation. Sometimes we consider this to be related to the period following the 4th initiation, as when the initiate Jesus rose from the dead and rolled away the stone and moved towards the 5th initiation. But the real resurrection has to do with elevation into the true solar logoic love wisdom on the logoic plane of our cosmic physical plane. That's as high as we can go on our cosmic physical plane. And this is the initiation which the great Lord, the Christ, and his brother, the Buddha, are in the midst of. It takes a long time to take this initiation. Sometimes initiations the lesser ones are taken within a life or two, and this seems to take a couple of thousand years perhaps. But we're interested in the resurrection of all of humanity, the rising up into humanity's greater potentials and extrication from that illusion of materialism which holds so many of us enthralled. It's simply a great mistake in consciousness and taking the appearance for the reality. But at this time we can wear away the veil. You know, what's so interesting about Gemini that it can create in its lower expression a kind of veil, as Mercury can too. It can be very related to Maya, a kind of blinding of our consciousness to reality. And yet in the higher reaches of the sign we pass through the pillars of wisdom into the great temple which hierarchy represents, and the veil lifts, and spirit and matter through the agency of soul can be united. So we can expect during these days significant and tangible changes in our consciousness. It can be very subtle, okay, but we watch for that because we are interested in the subtle matters now, so that we can begin reconstructing the world from the inside out, I suspect, coming into a realization of the nature of reality and working it on through manifestation. It's said of Gemini that the seventh ray is missing, but I don't think that was always the case. It seems that the two pillars stand very strongly and in a way uphold the portal to the temple. So there is a certain uprightness and sturdiness in the advanced Gemini individual, which is able to sustain the line from heaven to earth and from earth to heaven. We can call that the Antikarana, we can call it by many names, but we learn to become pillars of light, connecting the highest worlds, in this case the logoic plane, with the worlds of matter and manifestation. So with those thoughts in mind, and whatever other thoughts you may be bringing to this little meditation, we will proceed. And our first work is to approach spiritually and engage with the available energies. Definitely available at this time, subtle energies, planetary energies, and the energies of the hierarchy meditating together. The Christ is working with them, we are told, every day before the full moon for 3 days, and emphasizing on each day a different keynote, tonight's keynote, or this day's keynote, resurrection. Excuse me. We withdraw our consciousness from the personality and its vehicles, which are, after all, but our instruments of expression. And we, as souls in incarnation, every one of us, begin to enter deeply into the presence of the soul, the consciousness aspect on its own plane of light and love and power. Everything changes, and even the world of the senses or of feelings or of lower mind takes on a new luminosity as we enter together the reality of the realm of soul. And we reach out to each other in soul, touching each other, no matter where we may be located in time and space, and acquiring a deep sense of the group soul. All of us here involved, some 40 50 of us. As if we are coming together as one consciousness in all the different countries, but still somehow touching each other. And actually, if the truth be known, being each other. That is one of the great realizations in Gemini, with its important mantram for the advanced individual: I serve the one, that one which we are. So we get this sense of flowing into each other without the usual boundaries of perception. And we find the reality of each other, which is identical in every case, no matter how we may seem on more external levels. I serve the one. I serve my brother, but my brother is the one. My sister is the one. I am the one. And we reach out in this attitude, in soul and in spirit, to all the members of the new group of world servers that form one great subjective serving group, touching them, as it were, and becoming them. We already are them. All the spiritually minded people of the world, the men and women of goodwill, we open our hearts and our minds and we include them. We can use our imagination to do this. And ultimately including all human beings as souls, whether in the body or out of the body, the many billions of us as one being, really. We are unglamored by personality distinction. We find the commonality. And we know the truth of the great second ray mantram, naught is but me. Naught is but me. We relinquish all superficial distinction, and we know there is no my soul or thy soul, only the one soul, the one soul of humanity, and actually the soul which is universal, but one consciousness, one identity in all of cosmos and beyond. Naught is but me. So we hold that kind of identification even as we will be working in the mind, working in our point of tension on the mental plane, a group point of tension, fed by the will of the soul, the will of the group soul, fed by the will to initiate, the will to unify, the will to evolve, the will to harmonize, the will to act, the will to cause, and the will to express. We have all these forms of will feeding our mutual point of tension on the mental plane, which is a point of tension infused by the group soul. It is that point from which we build the antikarana as we draw up all the resources of the group personality into this point of shared tension, a soul-infused point of shared tension. And using the colors before you, according to your soul ray and your personality ray, or simply using the color indigo if you're not certain, we each build a dual stream of imaginative light, dual colors according to our soul and personality ray colors. We feel these dual streams rising, and we feel the quality of our rays and the quality of those two colors which we dwell in those two colors. And send them upward or inward, however you choose, but into the world of the impersonal planetary mind, the impersonal planetary heart, the impersonal planetary will, the many strands of the group rainbow bridge rise towards that point of blue-white light which we can symbolize as the world of being, the world of the monad, that thing we all share regardless of distinction, apparent distinction, the being we are, the multicolored rainbow bridge like a cone, like a vortex, like a funnel rising into this brilliance of the blue-white light on the monadic plane. And all of us able to contact these higher energies because of this group rainbow bridge. And across the bridge, which is mainly tinted indigo, the great synthetic universal color, we will send each of us a stream of brilliant white light, rapier-like, finding the point of being in the monad. And we will use the great second ray word of power, which is so important in our solar system. I see the greatest light. So we'll use a second ray note, a G. We'll sound the Om 3 times, and each time think inwardly. I see the greatest light. It is as if we have entered the world of the spiritual triad, where the masters of the wisdom are habitually focused. They are great presences, they are great units of energy along the 7-ray lines, and they focus primarily now upon the Buddhic plane of pure reason, of pure love, of harmony, of fusion. So it's as if we can contact them as they are more active at this time, reinforcing every full moon period, and especially these days when it is said the Christ meets with them for the emphasis upon the 3 keynotes before the full moon even arrives. So we will offer our salutations. This is not a form of worship. It is a form of express solidarity in co-creatorship with the great lords who are very real and whom we must realize as real, not being caught by any glamorous image of them such as is reflected on the astral plane, but the real presence in their Buddhic nature, some atmic, some higher mental, but mostly Buddhic. And we will express, as DK has actually given us to express, this exercise of salutations is based on an approach which he recommended. We will offer our salutations. Salutations to the Lord Buddha, the Lord of Light, the Lord of Wisdom. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters, the teacher alike of angels and of men. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we work most closely. Master M, Master KH, Master DK. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, whose ashram works most intensively for the reappearance of the Lord Maitreya, the Christ. Salutations to the Master Jwal Kul. At the present time, a foremost messenger from hierarchy. He who has given us the blue books and who trains aspirants for initiation, the first, second, and even the third. Salutations to your own Master, as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of the planet. We stand with our elder brothers and we offer ourselves in co-creatorship, the better to bring through the divine plan. And imaginatively, we raise our thought to the highest center of all, to Shambhala, where the will of God is known, and with deepest reverence and in all humility, identified as a group soul, we attempt to attune to the presence of Sanat Kumara, the Lord of the world, the youth of endless summers, the Lord of Venusian love, standing at the center of Shambhala. And we will, as we do this, sound a long and silent interior Om, as we imagine the group and all who can respond imbued with as much of his purpose and as much of his will as can be received. It's all so very subtle, but so very real. The energies gather in Shambhala under the law of assembly to be distributed to all sentient beings on the earth. As we begin to approach the subtle energies available, we feel our consciousness imbued by the consciousness of Master DK, who is such an expert in all of these matters of energy. Planetary, systemic, the energies of the creative hierarchies. Let's breathe in the indigo. And his presence as if we were outposts of his consciousness so that we can better appreciate the nature of these energies now available, even as he appreciates them. These energies coming from Mercury, the exoteric ruler of Gemini, helping us understand all opposites, relating them, especially soul and personality at our level of work and understanding. They have to speak to each other, they have to dialogue with each other, they have to communicate. Yellow Mercury. If you know the glyph, sometimes visualizing the glyph can bring the energy closer. And beautiful Venus, the esoteric ruler, whose colors are rose and indigo and also the orange for its ray 5 nature, fusing, bringing magnetically together the pairs of opposites, soul and personality, drawing them into fusion, which is the goal of us all. The completely soul-infused personality, achieved finally at the 4th degree, but progressively in progress for all of us. And our Earth, our beautiful Earth, our blue-green planet of the second ray blue and the third ray green, the hierarchical ruler, the field of service. All of us are on this path of Earth service for a while, and as we rise through the ranks, we prove it through our service to the Earth and all of its many beings. Maybe some choose to stay on longer on the true path of Earth service, but all of us, for thousands of years, we are working on the Earth, the field of service. And Gemini is such a sign of service, even selfishly in the beginning, but later I serve my brother, and I serve the One. So all these planetary energies are now uniquely available in specialized ways. They are not remote astrological factors, they are presences. They are here. And their gifts are intensified at these times. And from these planetary entities we move in imagination towards the great blue logos. Our solar logos, a God of love. Our God is a consuming fire of love. Our great blue logos on the second ray. Every one of us, every being in this solar system, really a unit of life within the solar logos, who is so intimate to us. The sun is not just the sun. It's a great vehicle of expression of this mighty deity. And when we look into the sky and see the sun rise and culminate and set, it's so much more than just the sun. The love of the great blue logos, each one of us inhering as monads in that logos. The monad, that which finds its home within the sun. we are united together in this Logos, and stretching our imaginative minds further towards the beautiful constellation Gemini, the oblong square, the rectangle, that holds the proportional keys to the harmony of the spheres, the great source of the proportion which makes music. Revealing, as we think of it, the light of interplay. This is a line of light beams revealing that which opposes, or the basic duality of manifestation, the relationship of spirit and of form, the conscious light of that relationship, the light of interplay. And can we come into relationship with every content of consciousness we perceive? There is not in all of this great universe but contents of one consciousness, of which our consciousness is a tiny part. Coming into true relationship as soul with form, as spirit with matter. A new, scintillating relationship with all things can be the result of our work during this Gemini period. Gemini transmitting at this time principally Ray 2, just like the sun, the solar Logos. Through Mercury, through Venus, through the Earth, and the other rays, the fourth, fifth, and third rays, and also of Earth, the second ray of its love, wisdom, soul. All this available now. We meditators working with the forces of reconstruction, making possible the rebuilding of human civilization, rebuilding of the shrine of man's living, as the Tibetan describes it. And the plan behind it is that of the forces of restoration under Aries, illumined by the forces of enlightenment under Taurus, the forces of reconstruction to which we can all contribute. So, if some of you have seen this wonderful constellation, the two twins, the two stars, which are really 7 stars, amazingly, the 1 and the 6, one great star and 3 pairs of stars, we ponder the mantram. I recognize my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. I recognize my other self. As if you can see from a great distance the tiny personality. But then, who are you? who is the observer that sees the other self. I recognize my other self. And in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. And so at last, using this mantra, we shall know ourselves as the free soul on its own plane. And more, we shall know ourselves as the spirit identity itself on its own plane. Finding the true identity and disengaging from all mistaken notions of identity. Only again to find that which we thought was two are actually and finally one. I recognize my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. And thus can the group soul, the group spirit also recognize its other self and find a truer identity. The two great brothers of the time, the Christ and the Buddha, are like the West and the East, respectively. They represent the spiritual union of the two hemispheres. The Lord of wisdom and of light, the Buddha, and the Lord of love, the Christ. And in their brotherhood expressed at this time of the festival of humanity, they hold out the hope that all human beings may be united in brotherhood, which is, after all, a monadic state. The reality of the Christ and the Buddha, real beings, here, now. And they do indeed stand for the brothers in the light, for the constellation Gemini. And we are preparing now for the full moon itself in just a couple of days. And at that time it is said that the Christ, the Lord Maitreya, so unified with the Buddha in intent, preaches the last sermon of the Buddha before the assembled hierarchy, and in a way before the hearts and minds of all human beings. So we're looking at some of this last sermon, a little bit every pre-meditation period, and then on the actual moment of our full pre-meditation work on Thursday night at 9 p.m. GMT, we will look at the entire sermon, or the greater part of it, of the Buddha. But now these words, as the Buddha tries to bring us liberation and the method by which it may be achieved. While subject to sensations, let him continue so to regard the sensations that he, the disciple, being strenuous, thoughtful, and mindful, may, whilst in the world, overcome the grief which arises from the sensations. Strenuous, thoughtful, mindful. Remember the Buddha's first-ray personality. Remember his first sub-ray of the second-ray soul that links him with Shambhala. Strenuous, the lion, the Buddha. Thoughtful, mindful. It takes that to overcome the grief which arises from the sensations, from interpreting them as real, which they are not. So, can we affirm in ourselves the fact that we can be strenuous, thoughtful, and mindful in negating the sense of the reality of the sensations, and thus overcome the grief which arises from these sensations, from the samsara of the world, the raging fire of samsara, as it is called. Can we do that? Can we resolve to do that? Detach, disengage, see from afar, negate the reality of that which hitherto seemed overpoweringly real. So, the body's cravings, that was last session, overcoming the grief arising from the body's cravings, and this session, overcoming the grief which arises from sensations. The great Lord, the Buddha, delivering us into freedom. So with profound gratitude to the great Lord who is still with us and will be even during the Aquarian age, though long ago he might have left to other spheres. With that realization, we offer our profound gratitude to the great Lord of Light, the Lord of Wisdom, the Buddha, for all he has done to illumine humanity, to enlighten humanity. And we turn then our attention toward the Lord of Love, the Lord Maitreya, the Graphist. We visualize him, however he may be, inscribed upon the heart of any one of us. It will be a unique inscription. And it is said that at each of these occasions, he will sound the great invocation, at first alone. So, using our attunement, our creative imagination, our sensitivity, we imagine him sounding and us hearing that sounding of the great invocation, and we allow a period for the silent absorption of his imagined sounding. So we will listen deeply inwardly. We try to participate in the reality of that which we are told actually occurs. And further, we are told that on the second day, Christ and the entire hierarchy intone the second stanza of the great invocation, as you see from the point of love within the heart of God. Let love stream forth into the hearts of men, may Christ return to earth. And so we as if again listen deeply as we imagine the Christ and his hierarchy sounding forth together with great power and effectiveness this second stanza of the great invocation. We contemplate the deep significance of these words and the power that must be generated when the Christ and his lords sound it together in whatever language they may use, but sounding it together. We imagine the love of God pervading humanity and the planet. We see a human race characterized by right human relations. And our planet expressing its great second-ray soul, the soul ray of our planetary logos. How much could be overcome if that were the case? And so we help it to become the case. On each of the 3 days, there is a distinct keynote, which the Christ and his hierarchy are said to emphasize. So, in imagined concert with the Christ and the spiritual hierarchy, we contemplate the second keynote, described by Master DK as follows. The keynote of resurrection, emphasizing the new note of livingness, of the living Christ, and of that life more abundantly, which war, privation, suffering, have made possible by forcing a return to the real values. Keynote of resurrection, a new note of livingness, of the living Christ, and of that life more abundantly which through suffering has been made possible, forcing return as is needed today to real values. We contemplate. The joy of abundant life is on its way through Aquarius, through Jupiter, through Shambhala, through the Christ and his hierarchy. Etheric livingness, the substitution of the cosmic ethers for the lesser ethers, a new vibrancy for all of us and for the planet. We have to be able to understand something of what this might mean and how it will inspire us to work with all we have towards this fulfillment, this coming fulfillment. This life more abundantly growing in ourselves and in all human beings, and how this new note of livingness will appear, how it will sound forth, how it will transform the earth. We allow ourselves to dream the intended plan into existence. so that all of us daily, yearly, through the duration of our lives may feel more and more alive with this abundant life. I'm remembering a Japanese artist who reached the age of 80 and said, "Now at last, that which I create is truly alive." Gemini so enlivens the etheric body. We can vibrate with this new livingness that life more abundantly will bring Aquarius and Gemini together, being the two conduits for this. We can live in the true esoteric occult sense, and so can humanity and every kingdom, and so can this planet live its way into becoming a sacred planet. So we affirm our solidarity with the Buddha, the living Buddha, with the Christ, the living Christ, and the assembled hierarchy. And we seek to identify with them and to merge our purpose with their purpose. And as we imaginatively merge with them, we do as they do, and we bless the world in silence. So that all may truly live as the life they are. We pause for a moment of appreciation of the illumined, loving energies of the constellation Gemini. We feel ourselves imbued with these energies, which are growing in strength as the full moon approaches. And as if in union with the Christ, the hierarchy and all the disciples in the world, we will sound aloud together, each can do this in his own home, the second stanza of the great invocation, sensing the manner in which hierarchical love leads to life more abundantly and to the resurrection of the Spirit. From love to abundance to resurrection. from the point of love within the heart of God. Let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. Well, thank you so much, friends, for coming. We will continue. Tomorrow night, our keynote will be Contact, and Brett and Joe and Kay, our team here, will get this the video of this program out to you as soon as possible, and then, of course, some who have not been able to be here will be able to use it and participate in this keynote of resurrection, which is the keynote for, well, Tuesday, I guess we could say. Okay. Many blessings. Thank you for meditating together and for helping the consciousness of humanity through your efforts, through our group efforts. Many blessings. We'll see you in another 23 hours or so if you choose to come back. Bye-bye.